Yeah, and that is telling you that Wales, and particularly Britain, has got this huge, huge history of this, which is why we've got the Druids' history here, you know?
Right, hello, welcome back everyone, Britain's Hidden History, and I've got Luke with me again. So it's very exciting. If you remember it, we've gone through the Tree of Life, we've gone through the numbers in the Bible, the way you have to relook at the words, which God are we talking about, the legal representations, and then how the names of those before the flood, the antediluvian leaders, and after, got the 1010 tying with the Tree of Life. There's so much going on, and now we get nearer and nearer to the migrations. So good evening, Luke, and how are you, sir?
How you doing, Ross? You okay?
Yeah, good, thanks. Yeah, looking forward to it. We've all been
Yeah,
eagerly awaiting this next installment. So where are we going tonight?
Okay, first off, I just want to do a quick disclaimer and just say that everything I'm going to be talking about is information for people to just take on board, debate. I'm not saying that I'm, excuse me, I'm not saying that I am correct or factual in everything that I'm saying. I'm just putting information out there for everybody to look at and decide for themselves, basically, because there's an awful lot of information out there about this. And I do go on to the videos and I do go on to the comment section, and I don't understand why some people go on there just to have a moan if they don't like the video. You know, my advice to them, I would encourage them to not watch the videos if they're not interested in it.
Yeah, it
Go
comes to
away
the territory sometimes, I think. I agree. Well, thank you for clarifying. Now, I've never got the impression that you were kind of preaching to anybody. And one thing I would add as well to everybody watching this is that I know from my point of view, and Luke has said this many times, we're all on a journey of exploration and learning, and we're trying to fathom this out and work it out. And all the information that's being brought forward is to help us do this. And I'll defy anybody out there to know absolutely all this, because a lot of it is stuff we will not find out, you know, in this mortal existence. And it always baffles me, the certainty and absolute conviction a lot of people have about things that we're trying to work out. And our whole life journey is an exploration for that. So, thanks for clarifying that. But I think you're doing a grand job anyway.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, mate. It's just about, like you say, seeking out that information and sharing it.
Yes.
And I think the more we can do that, the better. And for me personally, I like to know where I'm coming from if I'm on a journey, because otherwise I feel like I'm in a bit of an ocean. And it's like, if you don't know where you've come from, how are you going to know where you're heading? But on that note,
Well, I will
I'm going to
just say
start.
that the feedback I get is incredibly supportive. I mean, big numbers of people and loads of support. So let's not let a couple of zealous fanatics put us off our track.
No, mate, they're not putting me off my track. I'm just encouraging them to go elsewhere and maybe badger us on it.
Yeah, life's too short to spend too much
Why are you
time
doing
arguing
me
on these
like an
things. I
old
agree.
woman? So anyway, let's get back to the presentation. I'm going to start off where we finished. So if you've not watched the previous videos, I'd obviously encourage you to go back and rewatch or watch them so that you can find out and see where I'm coming from. Because as Ross pointed out, this information over here from Adam to Noah, these 10 patriarchs or these pre-flood lineages link towards or link to the tree of life, the Kabbalah tree of life. And that's really important as well, because that's the underlying theology behind all of this. And I think that's something that people might want to explore as well, because it's a hidden religion as well, or a hidden theology, should I say. So anyway, getting back to this, as you can see, we've got some information on the screen which says about Star Wars. Well, obviously in the Bible there was a heavenly war, you know, so we know that Satan or Lucifer was cast down out of the heavens. And we've also got this information in a film called Star Wars, where we have this battle of good versus evil. And when we look at the pre-flood lineages, what we've got is two separate family lines. We've got the Cainite or the Kenite line, which is marked up as the beast. And then we've got the right side, which is the Adam and Seth family tree. And this is always considered to be the righteous tree, okay, traditionally. And obviously the left-hand side, Cain being the first murderer, not a particularly nice guy. So the reason I've brought this up is because I'm going to put some information to you which shows, I believe, that these individuals over here, if indeed they are real people, actually were not destroyed in the flood. They actually passed over into the next stage after the flood as Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So basically, Jabal, Jubal, and Tubal Cain, the three main sons of Lamech, I'm saying are actually these being renamed.
Okay. Oh, it's the same people or entities, wherever. Are they people or?
Yeah, I mean, from the biblical perspective, they're certainly portrayed as people. But I think watching some of the things, what was it yesterday? You did that interview with the guy with the Zodiac. You know, he's showing you information. That,
oh yes, Hugh. Yes.
Yeah, Hugh. Fascinating stuff, and I've been reading his book as well, and he shows as well that there's a celestial element to this as well. You know, it's not just whether it's just related to celestial humans or whether humans have taken on the celestial element. I don't know. You know, that's up for debate with everybody else. But with regards to this, I'm contending that this Jabal, Jubal, and Tubal Cain are actually renamed as Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Okay.
And I don't think that's particularly far out there anyway, because, you know, if you look at the deities from all of the old god lines, you know, take up Aphrodite, for example, she's also known as Venus. It just depends on where and the location she is, basically. You go further back in time, she was known as Inanna. So that's basically what I'm saying here is
the same characters get recycled in different cultures, don't they?
Yeah, totally. So it's the same kind of thing. And interestingly, I've got a verse here, and we just spoke about it before we came online. And it was about, you know, in school we're traditionally taught, aren't we, that the animals went into the ark 2 by 2. Hurrah, hurrah. You know, and Noah saved the world. What we're not taught about, or what we don't sing about, is actually he also took clean beasts in by the sevens. So why aren't we taught about these clean beasts? And why is the male and the female not clean by the twos? What does this mean? I haven't got an answer for that, so maybe someone can come up with an answer. And I don't know if that's to do with a similar kind of blessed thing, whether it be a halal kind of thing. I don't know. You know, I know that's a Muslim thing, isn't it, a halal thing? But I'm talking more, I don't know what the Jewish version would be for that. But
it is a strange one. We have these songs and everything, don't we? The animals went by 2 by 2 and all that.
Yeah, but clearly as well, Noah also took in them by the sevens as well.
Yeah, so, that's the bit that doesn't get mentioned, does it? Yeah, it's weird.
No, it doesn't get mentioned. So every clean beast by the sevens, and we can see here that there's 7 patriarchs, or 7 groups of patriarchs from the Cainite lineage. Now, interestingly, in these characters here on this side, this is supposed to be the holy line, remember? And when we get to Jared, Jared's name in Hebrew actually means to go down or to fall down or to descend. And in the book of Adam and Eve, Jared is said to be the first of the patriarchs that fell into the Canaanite hands. And the story goes is that at the bottom of the mountain, at the bottom of the holy mountain, all of the Kenites were having a big rave and a big party, you know, and they were dancing and drinking and having fun and having orgies, and they were dressing up and putting eye makeup on and wearing makeup, and it was all the sinful things that these righteous fathers weren't supposed to do. So Jared descends, and without going into too much detail, because I'm not going to do that on this one, but Jared is linked name-wise with Irad. And I'm saying what we got here is we've got an exchange, because Jared goes down and Enoch comes up. Okay.
Right.
Now, in the film Star Wars, Obi Wan Kenobi was struck down and taken up by God. Darth Vader didn't kill him. If you remember,
No, should come back as something more terrible than you could ever imagine, or something like that.
Yes. yeah, something like that. So he was struck down and he was taken up into, the land of the Jedis, or whatever you want to call that. Now, Lamech is a key character in this. His name actually means powerful. Okay. So what I'm suggesting is if Enoch's come up from the Canaanite line, then he, Methuselah and Lamech and Noah are obviously descendant from the beast line. Does that make sense?
It does. The only one that's confusing me is that, Cain is the son of Adam anyway, isn't he?
He is the son of Adam, but he was the first murderer.
But he becomes a different line, even though he's part of the line, isn't he?
Yeah, he's part of Adam's lineage, but he's obviously gone off in a separate way. He was cast out, wasn't he, because of his? I think he went off into the land of Nod.
So it's not really a blood lineage; it's more of a cast down lineage or something.
Yeah, and obviously without going into huge amounts of detail on this side, because this is another story of itself, going through these individual characters and looking at each of their names and their meanings, it's a huge thing. So what I'm saying with this Darth Vader element is that Lamech basically is a candidate for this Anakin Skywalker, because he was meant to be this all-powerful Jedi, or the most powerful Jedi. That's what set Anakin Skywalker.
This was to balance the Force, isn't he?
Yeah, he was the one that was supposed to be the most powerful. And then obviously he fell down to the dark side. And then we have another Lamech coming down here as well. So up here, we've got this battle between good and bad going on, where we've got the intermingling of the good and bad family lines. And then Lamech, who is also the father of Noah, is also the father of these. So Noah had siblings as well.
Going over to the Sith.
Yeah, well done, mate. Awesome. So let's go forward.
One last second. Sorry, maybe you'll come back to this. Can you go back one slide? Where is take now if I go with the Star Wars thing, but obviously Anakin becomes the father of Luke, doesn't he? And Luke is the one who's becomes the all-powerful one, doesn't he? Do you see him fitting on that, or?
I haven't actually gone looking for Luke in any of this. All I've identified is the senior patriarchs, if you like, and the Lamech side of it is interesting because of what his name means. It literally does mean powerful, the powerful one. So the Star Wars side of it will become a little bit more apparent on the next
all right. Yeah.
Okay, because we will then look at Enoch. So there we go, Obi Wan Kenobi. So the Cainites, as I call them, were also known as the Kenites. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got in there a reference to the Kenites in Obi Wan Kenobi. Now, is this Obi Wan Kenobi or is it Enoch? Okay, because the Hebrew Enoch is pronounced as Kanoki. So is that Obi Wan Kanoki or is it Obi Wan Kenobi? Okay.
So Enoch is pronounced Kanoki.
Yeah, it's pronounced Kanoki in Hebrew. Okay.
Wow.
So we have Obi Wan Kenobi, and I'm saying that he is the equivalent of obviously the Hebrew Enoch. And I'm saying that is because Enoch in Hebrew comes from a word called chanak, and that word means to train up or initiate and dedicate, just like a good old Jedi.
Yeah, he's the trainer, isn't he? Well, that's him, isn't it? Basically, yes.
Yeah, basically. So in this name is this reference to Obi Wan Kenobi in terms of the old Star Wars Hebrew connection. And again, as I said in the previous slide, he was struck down, wasn't he, by Darth Vader, and all that happened was his cape was left behind. Not his cape, sorry, his robes was left behind. And
yeah, he went off into the ghost world, whatever they call it. Yes.
Yeah, and there's a verse in the Bible, I can't think of it off the top of my head now, which actually talks about Enoch being taken up by God, for he was he was no more. So yeah, there's a reference to him being taken up. So that's that link with obviously Obi-Wan being taken up, and the Enoch, the Hebrew Enoch pronounces that.
It's not for discussion now, but I mean, it does make you wonder who the heck is putting these films together and what are they doing, pulling our chain like this, But
yeah, they know. They're just
someone knows, don't they? There's all this hidden history stuff we do. This is one of the weird things. We're spending out all this effort to find out stuff that a load of people already know and just won't tell anyone.
This is true. Yeah,
that's the world, isn't it? Right.
Yeah, all the information is out there, so it's out there for you to go and have a look. I believe that's the rules of the game. I do believe there is a bigger game at play.
Yes.
And as part of that game,
they can't destroy it, can they? They have to leave it there. If you have to, like I say, it's all consensual. Like you were saying about the legal part, you're consenting to all this. You've got a brain. Totally, if you use it, and you don't have to do that. You can make your own free will.
Yeah, sure. So these verses here now basically cover what we've just looked at in terms of those family trees. So it's talking about the descendants of Cain, and it goes on to talk about Ada and Zillah being these two women, and they're known as antediluvian women. And Ada bare Jabal, and it says he was the father of all dwelling in the tents and have cattle. Okay. His brother was Jubal. He was the father of all that played the harp and the organ. So basically the musicians. Yeah. And then Zillah, she bare Tubal-Cain, and he was basically the divine blacksmith. He was the art, he was the artist for brass and iron, which is relevant to particularly Britain and Wales and Cornwall with the mining.
Okay. Yeah, metalworking. Yeah,
metalworking. So these three fathers were really, really important. And like I said to you, they were supposed to have been destroyed in the flood because God got mad and was like, no, everyone's been naughty, so we've got to get rid of everyone. But clearly they weren't got rid of, as we shall see.
Yes. Okay. Yes, there's plenty of people still around, isn't there? Yeah.
Oh yes. So this is my little makeshift tree, and start over here. Remember the 10 points on the tree of life?
Yeah, the 2 cubes.
Yeah, the 2 cubes, and there's
a bit more obvious on that one. Yes, on the left.
Yeah, so I tilted it slightly, and it goes from 10 points to the 12 tribes, because you've then got the 12 points. So we can see how the tree of life is linked to the 12 tribes as well.
Well, the 10 and the 12, of course, is interesting because you have the 10 tribes of Israel and 2 tribes of Judah, don't you? The other way around.
Yeah, well, the kingdom of Israel, wasn't it? And the kingdom of Judah. That's quite right, wasn't it?
Yeah, one's 10, and that gives us the other 2, perhaps.
Yeah.
Those numbers all seem to tie in somehow, don't they?
They always do. They always do. So over here, I've just broken the 2 cubes down, and I've tilted them at an angle so that we can see the fish symbol in there, which is where we get the Vesica Pisces from, which is the creation of light as well. And this is obviously associated with Jesus, isn't it? The Vesica Pisces, the fish symbol. And we can see it in here, just in the structure of the cube.
All right, yeah, that kind of, yes.
Yeah. There's the fish shape. But it's also DNA. There's your DNA helix in here as well.
Wow.
Okay. And that's just from 2 cubes. So we've got wheels in here. We've got the 12 tribes in here. We've got the DNA, the twin DNA, because we've got twin DNA, obviously. And we've got the the fish symbol as well. From
I'm
the
just looking at that left-hand cube there with the fish symbol. Is it like two fish pointing in towards the middle? I mean, is that we get the idea of Pisces?
Yeah, you could have it going that way. There's a fish going that way, and there's it could be the head looking that way or the head looking that way.
Yeah, just trying to make it. Yeah,
that way. Yeah, and the tail going off that way.
Pisces always shown as two, aren't they?
Yeah, but there's clearly in there for me is the DNA helix, and it's the two family lines for me. That's represented of, the Cainite line and the good line, or the holy line, if you like. But ultimately, they are part of this same tree, this tree of life that we found in the Garden of Eden. Okay, so it was all there previously in the Garden of Eden. All 12 tribes were there waiting to come out and play. Okay,
it's made to be populated, as they say on computer games.
Yeah, so down here I've just outlined, obviously Tubal-Cain was the first blacksmith and forger of all instruments of brass and iron. Jabal was the father of tent dwellers and owners of livestock. Can you think of anybody important in the Bible that could be described as this?
Well, I think Abraham's called that, isn't he? Is it?
Well, hey, there you go. He was a tent dweller.
Yeah, I'm awake tonight.
Okay, so and then we've got Jubal, who's the father of all that play the harp and the pipes. So remember those names, Jubal and Jabal.
Yes, okay.
We'll go and look at this.
They're very similar, aren't they?
They are very similar, and there's a reason, because they're twins, or they're the same thing. So we've got here Ada. She bore Jabal, and he was. Remember this word.
Hey, yeah.
Aya, Asher, Aya. This is the name of Jehovah.
Yep.
The Jewish God. This is also Enki. You've heard of Enki. People will have heard of Enki.
Yeah, the old Babylonian, yeah.
Yeah, I'll go on to explain how and why in the next few slides. So basically, in this verse, bearing in mind that this is the children of Lamech, who I've saying is the fallen Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker character, not in a literally sense, because I know somebody will pull me up on that. And then we've got this person here, Jabal, being shown as being Yahweh or Haya, the Jewish God. So Jabal was Haya.
Yeah, because
not only that,
it's one of these weird things, isn't it? Where our translation, you've got a word like was, and when you look it up, that's not the word at all, is it? It's where it just says was there, it should say Jehovah, shouldn't it? This is the this is where the concordances come in useful and all that stuff.
And this is what they're, for me, I mean, that's an intentional hide. That's why, like you said, why have they used the word was and actually defining it as the deity?
Yeah, it should just say those who dwell the Father Jehovah or whatever, shouldn't it, really?
Yeah, totally. Because he's basically saying Jabal was Jehovah.
Which is weird then. I mean, so, those who dwell the Father God, I mean, the Father Jehovah, what does it mean, the followers of Jehovah then? I mean, how do you read that? Or are you going to come on to it? Sorry.
Yeah, we'll come on to that in a minute. Okay. But down here, his brother was Jubal.
So what's the real word for Jubal then?
Well, Jubal was Aya.
So they're both
Jehovah.
They're both part of Jehovah.
They're both part of the God of Israel.
Okay.
These two fathers. So these two fathers were part of the God of Israel. This is pre-flood. Okay.
Bonkers.
Because this Aya is also the deity that was at the burning bush.
The I am, I remember, yeah, the I am, isn't it?
3.14. He's also defined as I am that I am.
Yeah.
Who spoke to Moses. And so this same character, who is now Jabal and Jubal, then later after the flood goes and contacts Moses. And you and I were talking about his rod, weren't we, not too long ago? The rod of Aaron, was it? Is it you and I that was talking about the rod of Aaron?
I can't remember all the details. We'll come back now, yeah.
Okay. So bearing in mind that we've got Aya in there, This is.
Oh yes, that's sorry. Yes, I'm with you now. Yes, sorry. Yeah.
So
I
this
misheard you
is
slightly.
the proper name of the God of Israel from higher, the self-existent or eternal Jehovah, the Jewish national name of God. Okay, so Jubal was Aya. Jabal was Aya. So that's coded into those verses. Like you say, without going into these concordances, you would just look at Jabal and Jubal as fathers of tent dwellers
Yeah.
and the musicians. You know, you'd be looking at it and saying, well, they're fathers of these kinds of people, but they were supposed to have been destroyed in the flood.
What's the big deal?
They
Yeah.
can't have been destroyed. How can they be destroyed in the flood when they're the eternal? They can't possibly be destroyed in the flood, can they?
Yeah. So a god or a person? I mean, it's a strange one, isn't it?
Or is it both?
It takes some time to get my head around that.
Yeah. So.
Because also you've got the duality. If there's two of them, haven't you? It's like two halves of the same thing. I mean,
it's the two cubes. That's what I'm saying. They represent the two cubes, because those two cubes are the cubes.
Right.
And this is where Enki comes into it as well, because he was known as Lord Earth. His name, Enki, means, when you break it down, En means Lord, and Ki means Earth. And that's why he's known as Lord Earth. And if you remember back when we looked at the Platonic solids, you know, one of the important solids there was the Earth, which was the cube, which then relates us back to the tree of life again, because the tree of life isn't two wheels, it's actually two cubes put together. And that's where we have, you know, the cube of Islam, the Kaaba, and we also have the cube that goes on the Jewish forehead. But we also have the broken down cube.
And then peel it out, we get the cross. Yeah.
So it's all relevant to the cube, and this is what this is relevant to as well. This higher is relevant to the cube, and this is where we see the Exodus, the burning bush, the I am that I am, where it's pronounced Aya, Asha, Aya. Okay, it's the same 1961 Aya, Asha, Aya. So there we go. Abraham was a tent dweller along with his wife Sarah. And in later presentations, I go on to show how Abraham, I think, is actually Dumizid the shepherd, and Sarah is Inanna. Okay, and I will go on to explain why about that. Anybody that knows Inanna, she there's a picture of her, or a relief of her, where she's standing with her foot on top of a lion cub, which is on a leash.
Yeah, I remember the one. Yeah, you had the chain as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's on a leash, and you know, that's symbolic of letting the sun go, or before the sun was let off the leash, because that's the line of Judah, or it would go on to become the line of Judah. So Inanna, being Sarah, would be that link to the line of Judah coming into this family. So then obviously we've got David with his harp. So we know that Jubal was the father of David as well. We know that Jabal was the father of Abraham. Not just Abraham as well, but all of the major patriarchs were in their tents, you know, the tents of Shem. They're all tent dwellers. And Abraham was very rich in cattle as well, when you read through the Bible as well. So down here, we've got Ptah, the Egyptian creator god, and he's also known as the divine blacksmith as well. So Tubal-Cain was the pre-flood divine blacksmith, and now post-flood we've got Ptah, the divine blacksmith, with his rod. So it's
the same characters continuing through the flood is the idea then,
yeah. And what we can do is, when we look through the connections, all of these individuals on here, like Vulcan, Hephaestus, Prometheus, and Enki, these are all linked together. These are all different names for the same deity, just in different regions and in different formats, acting out different roles.
Yeah, in the Welsh Mabinogi as well, there's one.
Yeah. So we know that Enki is also the Egyptian Ptah, and we know that Enki is the god of crafts. So he's the god of the craftsman. And that is obviously Hephaestus and Prometheus and Vulcan. So all of these are interlinked, and we know that they're connected to the Israelites because it was this deity, the I Am, that spoke to Moses at the burning bush, as I showed on the previous slide. Okay. So yes, now is where things start to get interesting. So I apologize for the quality of the
That's all right. It's all come through clear enough.
Yeah, it just about made it did. And so what we're looking at here now is obviously post-flood, and allegedly all of those characters that I just spoke about were all destroyed in the flood, although those 7 patriarchs that I showed on the B-side, the clean B-side, may have been taken into the ark by Noah in the 7s and carried across. And obviously with all of those previous patriarchs,
yeah, because that's the key point I think I didn't quite latch on to earlier, if you don't mind a second, was when you were saying the 7 clean, it wasn't just talking about dogs and cats or whatever, they're talking about those 7 entities were preserved.
Yeah,
does that mean like he's almost kept those religions or his memories, or he's kept them as gods? It's or he just transferred across.
Well, it's the illusion that there's going to be change, but there wasn't any change, because it's a bit like politics, isn't it? You vote for one party and all you get is the same bloody ideas in a different color. That's all it is.
Right. Okay.
You know, it's the same kind of thing. That's what I'm saying anyway. But with regard to this, so we've now got the post-flood information coming out, and we've got these 3 major patriarchs. Shem. Now we know that Shem, through his line, we get to Abraham. So these are the tent dwellers. And we know through Abraham, we also get David. So that is the musicians. So that's Jabal and Jubal coming through here.
Okay, yeah.
Through here.
They're all descendants of Abraham, yeah.
Yeah, so through Ham and Canaan particularly, and in particularly Sidon and Heth, these were the warrior tribes. So these were the ones that were the advanced metal workers and the smiths. Okay. Now Ham had a son called Cush. Cush had a son called Nimrod, and Nimrod allegedly went on to rule the world.
Yeah, the great destroyer, yeah.
Yeah, when he was just 18, apparently. By the time he was 18, he managed to do that.
That's pretty quick work, isn't it?
Yeah, they had great power. So these lot were the blacksmiths, the warrior tribes. And these over here were Jabal and Jubal's descendants. Now, Aram is of particular importance because it means Syria.
Syria?
This is Aram, yeah, this is Syria. This is ancient Syria. And this is where we get Aramea from as well. So we get Joseph of Arimathea from here. Okay. Now this Aram, the son of Shem, had various sons, and one of them was called Mash. Okay. Now Mash is also known as Meshesh, which is interesting because on this side of the tree, you've got Japheth's side, you've also got one of his sons called Meshesh. Okay. But interestingly, this Mash is called Meshesh, but he's called Mash for some reason, which I don't know if that's to just try and confuse the two, because they're both.
Yeah, it's another double up in there. It's a bit like old Jubal and Jebel, isn't it? It's the same thing again.
Yeah, and maybe they've done that just to distinguish the names. I'm not quite
Oh, it
sure.
could be, yeah, yeah.
So down, obviously, Ham, you've got Mizraim, that's Egypt, and Osiris as well. If you look into it, you find out that Mizraim is Osiris, and you find out that Lahabim Libycus was his surname, is Hercules in the tales. And obviously Hercules, they've got him as the son of Osiris. So this is in the old books as well. So we'll talk about that in a moment.
They're coming from Ham, right? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So we're getting back to Mash. Here you go, Aram, Syria and its inhabitants. Okay.
Always just amuses me when it's just spelt out so straight and it's not in the books we read. It's bizarre.
Yeah, and I just go back to that very quickly. I just want to very quickly point out now, because we're getting very close to what your regular viewers like to hear about, which is the Welsh
Get to the migrations.
And there was always this Syria connection, the elder Sisenas. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And this, I'm going to be saying, is the first migration of the ancient Syrians. So the elder Sisenas go back a long way. And there was two, I'm saying that there's two migrations of Sisenas. There was one with Aram through his son, which will become relevant with that druid that you've been speaking to recently. And then there was another, but let me just move on.
Okay, so Aram's crucial here, right? Okay.
Aram is crucial because you've got Aram and Aram.
Does Gomer come back into it again?
Who?
Gomer. I saw Gomer mentioned on the first column. If we go back to...
Let me just go back there.
I want to hold you up. If you go back one more, sorry. Gomer, the very first guy on the far left under Jaffa.
Yeah, I've not gone into that. And I know about the Ashkenazis because there's a lot of theories around the Ashkenazi Jews.
Because there's one idea that the word Cymru comes from Gomer, you know, they seem to be connected that way. But that's a different route. Let's stick to what you're doing. That's okay.
Okay, so let me head on back to there. So there's this explanation of Mash, being the same as Meshesh.
It's the same anyway, right?
Yeah. So this is really important in terms of the first migration because it was documented by Raphael Holinshed in the Holinshed Chronicles in the 16th century.
Yep.
And this Meshesh is also known by another name. So the first migration of the elder Sisenas, the descendants of Mash, son of Aram, Syria, son of Shem. So we're going way back in time. Okay, way back in time. And I've put this on here just as a bit of it made me have a chuckle because you've got Sauron and Pentra-Sauron, and it reminded me of the Lord of the Rings for one with Sauron that you get in there. But this name will become.
So where's this Sauron? Is that?
It's in North Wales.
Huh?
Yeah, it's in North Wales.
In North Wales, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, maybe sure on the map there's a Sauron. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, and you've got Bethuel in Wales as well. And Bethuel was the father of a certain character who I'm going to start talking about soon. and it's named after him as well in Wales. So all the names are there. The history's there. It's all hiding in plain view. So keep bearing that in mind. That Sauron.
All right. So if you live in Sauron, good luck to you.
Yeah. So this I forgot to put the credit list. This was taken from a site called anamundi.com, I think it is. And this is a crucial book here. This Holinshed's Chronicle. Now you've read it, haven't you, Ross?
I haven't read it all the way through, but I do have a copy. It's on my working way through. It's a big old book.
Yeah. And
it is at the heart of all this, though, isn't it? It is well worth reading.
Absolutely, yeah, and it has got so much information in it. As you,
I know Marcell's a huge fan.
Yeah, and it's basically saying in this Chronicles, and it was written a long time ago. Look, in these Chronicles, Britain was first called Samathea. Now, Samathea is another name for Meshesh.
Really?
Okay? This is what it's saying in Holinshed's Chronicles, yeah. So Mash or Meshes is another name for Psamathes. And he was the first migration into Britain, where the island became known as Samothea. Now, interestingly, Psamathes had a son called Magus, and Magus is the magicians. Magus had a son called Saronius, Saron. Saron had a son called Druis, the Druids.
Yep.
The Bards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then this introduction of the Celts. So this is thousands of years before what history is telling us the Celts came along. Okay,
don't tell me the Welsh are Celts after all the things I've been saying. Oh, oh my God.
Yeah, but the thing about it, mate, is the origin could be here. So it's not Gaul or France. We could actually claim, we've got origins of it. So you could take ownership of it.
My knees are hurting. I'm backpedaling so fast.
But anyway, this druid that you've been talking to, everything to do with Britain in these first four patriarchs of Britain, you've got the magicians, not sure what this guy was doing, but you've got the druids and you've got the bards. The fathers of the druids, the fathers of the bards, and the fathers of the magicians.
God, it does make you think of Lord of the Rings again, doesn't it? Gee whiz.
Yeah, and that is telling you that Wales, and particularly Britain, has got this huge, huge history of this, which is why we've got the Druids' history here, you know?
Wow. Well, I hope you enjoyed what is the first half of, in fact, a double bill. And look out, the second half will also be a premiere. Hopefully we'll have Luke joining in the comments. Look out for that, where we'll be explaining the second migration, who they are, and how they're in the Bible and ends up in Britain. And it's certainly surprised me. So please look out for the next one for next time. Hello. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed that and found it informative. Britain's Hidden History Group has so much more going on our YouTube channel. The one you're watching now, there's a live stream, 8 o'clock UK time every Sunday. We speak to people like Wilson and Blackett, reprint their old books and help produce new ones. We go researching to the tops of mountains, all the way down to the bottoms of caves. Busily recording the books, you can listen to them as well, and looking at mysteries and working out what we're not being taught in schools and preserving it, because the physical and written evidence is rapidly disappearing. You can also find out how to read ancient writing and hieroglyphs using the Welsh language. It's amazing. There's a Facebook group where this is being discussed. Along with a website, you can buy the books and help us. Also, as you can see, there's now a Patreon page where just a few pounds a month will make all the difference in trying to keep the project going and preserve this history for future generations, and also to find out for ourselves what is going on, what is Britain's hidden history. So until the next time, Heddiw!